Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and today we have a fan request, and it is for the 1998 horror thriller Strangeland. Here is your trivia question for today. What is the name of the band that performs at the nightclub? The answer will be at the end of this video. At the beginning of this film, we meet Genevieve Gage, played by Linda Cardellini. She's hanging out with her friend Tiana Moore, as the two of them are trying to meet boys on the internet in a chat room. They end up chatting with someone named Captain Howdy, who invites them over for a party at his house. Unfortunately for the girls, Captain Howdy is not who he says he is. He also has some interests in some very dangerous hobbies. Now, after a day or two, Mr. and Mrs. Gage start to get very worried that their daughter and her friend are missing. Luckily for Genevieve, her father is Detective Mike Gage, played by Kevin Gage, who is not willing to give up and is going to find his daughter no matter what. After he finds the body of Tiana, he's willing to look into any avenue to get help to find his daughter. His hot-headed partner is not all that useful, although his niece, played by Amy Smart, is very helpful as she is super computer savvy. He also randomly gets some help from a tow truck driver that seems to know his way around the body modification community, and directs him towards a club called Zabulba. Now, eventually, the information he does gather does get him to his daughter, but he also finds out there are some other people that Captain Howdy has been keeping busy for a while. So, Captain Howdy is arrested, but he's not put in jail as he is considered mentally incompetent. Instead, they end up putting him into psychiatric treatment. After a few years, the now reformed Carlton Hendricks is allowed back into society. But now the real question is, will he fall back into his old ways? Will he stay the path of the straight and narrow? Or will the local townsfolk take it into their own hands? John Piplow is the director for this film. Dee Snider, who actually stars as the character Captain Howdy, also wrote and produced this movie. Now, you may also recognize him as the lead singer of the band Twisted Sister. Also, speaking of Twisted Sister, apparently on their album Stay Hungry, there's a song called Horror Terria, which is actually where the concept of Strangeland is loosely based on. There is also even a reference in this movie to the band Twisted Sister. I wish I could have found the right picture, but one of the people in this mob is actually holding up a sign that says, "We're not gonna take it," which of course is one of the band's most famous songs. The name Captain Howdy is also a reference to the movie The Exorcist, as that is the entity that Reagan is speaking to through the Ouija board. There's also a reference to another horror movie in this film, where at one point Carlton Hendricks gets up after being hung and makes the statement of, "What a rush," which is a line that Robert Englund actually says a few times as Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Robert Englund, of course, does make an appearance in this movie. Back in 2015, there was actually a discussion of making a sequel to the film called Strangeland Disciple. It has not actually occurred yet, but Dee Snider apparently has worked on it and still wants to make it. Now, if you can't get enough of the movie Strangeland, there is also a comic book prequel series called Strangeland Seven Sins. Apparently, Dee Snider really hated being in the Carlton Hendricks outfit, as he absolutely hated the cardigan. One other piece of trivia for you that I found interesting: the nightclub that they call Zabulba in the movie, which does in fact look a lot like a church, was actually a church originally, and now is a very famous nightclub in Denver, Colorado called The Church. So when it comes to the movie Strangeland, I enjoyed it. It's a dark, twisted, very interesting movie that I think did a great job of being on the pulse of what was going on at the time, due to the fact that there were all the discussions about chat rooms and are people who they really say they are online. But I do also have to say, a lot of the acting in the movie, not Dee Snider, I thought he did a great job, but some of the other actors did not do very good. So I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of the episode, what is the name of the band that performs at the nightclub? So the band performing on the stage at Zabulba is actually a real band, and their name is Bile. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe.